Remember that old Christian hymn, brighten the corner where you are? He just naturally brightened every corner that he was ever in.
Frank Willett is already a member of 6 Southern Tennis Hall of Fames, and for good reason. He was an All-American at Georgia Tech who never lost a regular season singles match in college and reached the NCAA semifinals in 1945. And once his collegiate days were over, his game still shined throughout the Southeast, and his legend also grew with every match he played.
Frank spent a decade and a half to 2 decades in the Atlanta area. He went to Georgia Tech, where he became an All-American. Great player, one of the greatest players in Tech history.
We both went through our college careers without losing a match. But again, his was better because he played #1 at Georgia Tech. And I played 5 and 6 at Tennessee, so I didn't have as tough a competition as he did.
After college, Frank went on to work at Westinghouse in Atlanta, but he still continued his tennis career, winning the Southern men's singles title in 1957 and continued winning tournaments after he moved to Chattanooga. But it was his personality and how he played the game that most remember. And for those who were lucky enough to be around him, his legacy is in their stories, which speaks volumes about what he meant to tennis.
From the time I was about 10 to the time I was about 15, he was my idol, still is as a matter of fact. He was the man I wanted to grow up to be, and he was the tennis player I wanted to grow up to be. And then at about age 15, I became a good enough tennis player to where he would play with me. And from the ages from about 15 to 22, 23, he was my mentor. And Frank basically taught me everything that to this day, that I know about tennis.
What a unique and amazing individual he was. We practiced several times a week, and he was always there to offer encouragement, advice, sportsmanship advice in particular. So, you know, we had a great relationship.
Frank was kind of my mentor when I was in that last year of high school and going to Georgia Tech. When I'd come home for vacations or for weekends, Frank and I would always play.
He was an extraordinary person. He had gifts in several directions. One thing that was very impressive was his, ongoing sense of humor.
I still remember when Frank hit a really bad shot at a really important time. About as mad as he ever got as he would yell out, "Jackrabbit." And if you hit a great shot on a really important point, he would look at you and say, "Too good, Tiger." And then if he hit a really good shot on a really important point, as often as not, he'd look at you with a big smile on his face and say, "Any questions, Chief?" I still remember that.
Frank was a tremendous guy. Anybody who knew him, I miss him a lot. He was just a fun person to be around. Anytime you wanted to have a good laugh, you always said something to Frank. And as Frank always used to say, his great expression was, "I've been to a lot of weddings and funerals. I like weddings better."
No matter what his age, there was one championship that Frank never relinquished, and that was his title as world champion of the locker room.
Frank Willett is undefeated, untied world champion of the locker room. And if there was a locker room in heaven, and you know there is, because it's not heaven without a men's locker room, I know Frank is still the #1 in the locker room.
I think his jovial nature and everybody here, I'm sure, will talk about how much fun he was in the locker room, and they'll say that he never lost a match in the locker room, which I would say is probably, accurate.
Whether it was for his game, sportsmanship, or personality, Frank Willett created endless memories for those he touched, and we congratulate him on being inducted into the Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame.
It's an outstanding achievement, but a well-deserved achievement, and I congratulate he and his family.
Everybody talked about Frank and what a player he was, and all his wins and all his titles, and he's just an amazing man, and he is Manker Patton to me, and congratulations on him for getting in. I think any Hall of Fame he gets in is well deserved.
Frank Willett had a rare combination of being a great competitor, a great athlete, a great tennis player, and a very fine person. He was a true champion as a competitor.
We appreciate all of the lessons that you taught us about respect, about good sportsmanship. And again, congratulations on being inducted to yet another Hall of Fame. You did it the old-fashioned way, Frank. You earned it, Tiger.
He has been greatly missed, and he will continue to be missed in Southern tennis. Quite a remarkable person.
And I couldn't have had a better friend, not only for tennis, but just as a person. And we were on the same page, and I'll never forget Frank. He was a good one.
Congratulations, Frank. I miss you. I love you. I wish you were here. And I know it's killing you not to be here, because this may be the only time in my life that I'll ever be able to get the last word on you. And I just have one last thing to say. Any questions, Chief?